Welcome to the Week of Action organized by EIT Climate-KIC together with the global community of the strategic programs. My name is Bjarke Korshøj. I'm the Climathon lead at EIT Climate-KIC, and I'm very excited that you're joining us from around the world. Maybe you joined some of our early morning sessions, maybe you joined some of our sessions yesterday, or maybe it's the first time that you're tuning in. But no matter where you are, welcome, and welcome to the Week of Action. So first, what is EIT Climate-KIC? EIT Climate-KIC is a knowledge innovation community, which means that we are bringing together more than 400 partners to exchange knowledge about how to combat climate change. And then, in the other end, we're trying to kickstart some of the innovation that's needed to really do something about climate change. One of the ways that we're doing this is through the strategic programs. The strategic programs are made up of 3 core pillars. One is activate. So we focus on activating people, getting people involved in climate action locally. We educate people, so we give people the skills needed so they can go out and be the change. And then we accelerate the great ideas, the great solutions that are coming out of all of these great people, and we help them reach the next level, potentially with their startup. So we put together the Week of Action for you to meet all of these people, to get introduced, to see, okay, who are the people actually out there doing something about climate change. And we hope that through this week, you will be inspired to do something yourself. We're also hosting the Week of Action just before the UN Climate Summit that kicks off on Sunday. So we really hope, I think we all really hope that we're gonna have a deal between all the countries in the world to really ramp up climate action. But we really want to show you that no matter what happens, there are actually already people out there doing something about this. And these people you're going to meet in this session about Climathon, but you can also meet them throughout the sessions that we're hosting on the different channels of EIT Climate-KIC. Speaking of climate challenges, one of the big climate challenges is energy, and that's actually the theme of today for the Climate Week, for the Week of Action. Energy is something that we need to power society, but it's also the single biggest pollutant and contributor to climate change. So it's something that we all really need to do something about. And we really want to hear from you if you are part of interesting projects out there, or that you know of initiatives where you try to tackle the energy transition to a better, more sustainable future. Or if you want to call on your region, your city to do more about the energy transition, then please do share with us under the hashtag Destination 1.5. It's the hashtag right here. It's point spelled out. So please do share with us. We want to hear from you out there. What are you actually doing? So today we have a really interesting agenda. Maybe some of you already joined us this morning for the panel debate from Climate Accelerator with entrepreneurs from Asia. This is one of our other entrepreneurship strategic programs, or the panel debate that we just had with Pioneers, one of the education programs. In just a few minutes, I'm going to introduce you to the Climathon community, so the people who are actually making Climathon happen. And at 12, we're going to hear from an entrepreneur in the session organized by Climate Accelerator, so how to become an entrepreneur. And then at 1, we're gonna have a panel debate again on the Climate Accelerator and Climate Innovators YouTube page. So right now you're on the Climathon YouTube page or Facebook page, but on the Climate Accelerator and Climate Innovators YouTube page, you can listen into this panel debate where we're going to focus on Europe. So we're going to hear from some entrepreneurs from Europe. In the afternoon, we will have some interviews with participants from the Journey. The Journey is one of our education programs. So you can learn from them, okay, what does it actually mean to be part of this Journey program? And there'll be a live Facebook, Instagram talk with Young Innovators, one of the other education programs. And then in the evening, we're actually gonna, or you can stream the Climate Launchpad Global Grand Final live. This is where a lot of hopeful, soon to become entrepreneurs are gonna pitch their ideas and hopefully get a spot in the final on Friday. So that's the agenda. I hope you're excited out there, because we're really excited to share all of these great stories and initiatives and projects with you. And we just opened the chat. So if any one of you have any questions for me in the studio, questions for the people that I will be talking to in just a short while, then please put them in the chat. Please also share if you have ideas on how your city will become better, will become more carbon neutral. You can also please share where you're from in the world. We actually want to know, okay, who's watching out there. So please do share and please interact with us. Speaking about ideas about how to make your cities better, this is the starting point of the Climathon. So, and you are watching the Climathon YouTube page or Facebook page. So we want to introduce you to our community, the participants, the local organizers, people who are actually doing something about climate change out there in hundreds of cities all around the world. So you'll be hearing from one of the local organizers in just a few minutes. And we'll also talk to one of the winning teams of one of the Climathons that took part early this year. Since 2015, we have been bringing citizens and cities together through Climathon. Today, we have 195 cities taking part in the global Climathon movement, and the number just keeps growing. So every year we see that more and more people want to be part of this. And Climathon is focused on developing ideas, but that's not the only outcome of Climathon. You also learn a lot about yourself, about new ways of presenting an idea, and you also get to meet a lot of people that are passionate, just like yourself, about what they can do about climate change. And speaking of Climathon, then Climathon is not possible without the community of local organizers that we have. And I want to bring on board before I do that, I want to actually show you a video of the Climathon journey. So I want to show you just a little bit more about what is it actually to be part of Climathon. So we have a short video for you here, and then we'll hear from one of the local organizers just afterwards.
Humanity is facing an unprecedented crisis. COVID-19 shocked the world. But climate change doesn't wait. Inaction is not an option. It's time to act and come together. Cities and citizens are already forming a global wave of climate champions. In the last 4 years, the Climathon movement has grown from 600 to 6,000 participants across all 6 continents. And the momentum keeps on building. We need bold ambition. We need climate-resilient ideas and initiatives. We need a green recovery. Together, let's build back better. Join us on the Climathon journey. Take action. Co-create local ideas to shared climate challenges and build tangible and impact-driven projects. Get involved in shaping the future of your city. We are all in this together.
Welcome back. You are watching the Week of Action organized by EIT Climate-KIC and our global community on the Climathon YouTube page and Climathon Facebook page. So you just saw a little bit more in visual about the Climathon journey, and now I'm actually going to bring on one of our local organizers. So this is one of the persons who are actually making Climathon a reality out there. And from Climathon Piacenza, I want to welcome Giacomo.
Hi, nice to meet you. Good morning to everyone.
How are you feeling, Giacomo?
A little bit stressed. No, I'm joking. Let's say we are really happy of organizing this first edition of Climathon Piacenza. We have been working quite hard to make it a reality. We have started talking about Climathon Piacenza more than a year ago. Then with the let's say pandemic restrictions, we postponed it several times, so we are finally happy to have our event here in our location, to get back to have people here and not just, let's say, online event. So we are really thrilled to start and ready. So that's the feeling right now.
Here, and I'm just so happy to see that you finally are able to bring people together and make Climathon a reality in Piacenza. So when I know it's soon, right, that your Climathon is starting. When is it kicking off?
We basically started yesterday with let's say preparatory event. It was basically a workshop focused on a little bit of methodology for the participants taking part the event that will start on Friday and will continue on Saturday. So we will have a 2 days event. We have started yesterday, as I said, with a workshop on business model canvas, idea generation methodology. We will continue today with an event dedicated to high schools. So it's a really rich week, a week full of events and initiatives. But the main event will be on Friday and Saturday.
That's great to hear, and it's great to also hear how you are really involving the whole community in this, because I think that's what we need to do something about climate change. But I also just want to know a little bit about you. So how did you get involved in all of this? Why are you actually pushing and taking climate action locally?
Well, let's say I work in, let's say I manage a project which is basically a physical innovation hub here in Piacenza. And let's say one of the topics, one of the direction of our innovation hub is sustainable mobility and sustainable logistics. So we found out about this Climathon opportunity also because as a company, we contributed to the organization of Climathon also in other cities, in Turin, for example, in 2019, in Courmayeur. So we opened this new innovation hub with this, let's say, main topics as a focus, and we soon decided to start this experience of Climathon also here. So I, let's say, I'm in charge of this project. I'm really, let's say, really happy to manage it, and I'm sure it will be a great opportunity also for the city itself. As you said before, we definitely focus on the involvement of many actors, many targets here in the city. It's the first time Climathon is organized in Piacenza, so that's the basically direction we were willing to take, to create a large network here at local level, but at the same time participates to a global initiative.
That's really interesting to hear. Also, again, like you said, I think it sounds like it's all of Piacenza really coming together around this. I know it's the first Climathon. It's the first Climathon you're organizing. So how are the planning going? Like how are you dealing with things that are unforeseen? And as you said, you already kicked off yesterday with the warm up. But yeah, how's the planning going?
Yes. Yeah, we're like in the in the middle of the event, so we did good preparatory work in the past few months. I would say that let's say the creation of a diversified teams has been the key for let's say arriving to the event and be ready to run the event. We also try to identify and involve also external professionals, let's say, with a focus on these specific topics. We have a diverse range of challenges, of topics within the events. So we have decided to identify the most appropriate people to be part of the team. So both mentors, the jury, other external advisors. So that's the way let's say, we got here. And yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned the challenges. So I think you mentioned a little bit before that it is about mobility. So can you just tell us a little bit about what are the challenges of Piacenza? Because obviously we know that challenges are a very important starting point for a Climathon.
So we basically have three different challenges, all related to sustainable mobility, which is the main, let's say, topic of our Climathon. The first one is sustainable city logistics, so ways of implementing sustainable delivery methods and to avoid having a city full of trucks. um, the second one is safety and security. Safety meaning like mainly related to the use of e-bikes and e-scooters. And also this is really related to let's say, the sharing offer that it's something new here for us in the city. So we developed those challenges in close cooperation with the city of Piacenza, and those are topics that the city felt important to discuss in this event. The third one is sustainable ways of commuting between the city center and peripheral areas of the city. So, let's say, by avoiding using cars, which is nowadays the, let's say, main means of transportation for this type of commuting. So these are the three challenges: city logistics, safety and security, and sustainable ways of commuting from the, let's say, peripheral areas to the city center.
And it sounds like you're covering a lot. It sounds like there's there's a lot of mobility challenges in Piacenza. So why did you decide for such a broad scope? And you also mentioned that the city was very involved in this. So maybe you could also talk a little bit about how the city is.
Let's say, to define those challenges, we started by discussing with the city. And it's also interesting because the city just, let's say, approved and implemented a new urban plan for sustainable mobility. So it's a big document and a big set of rules. So we started from there. We identified the main challenges, the main topics. And then we tried to define three different challenges relevant and also able to, let's say, address different targets. So we have worked also in close cooperation, for example, with universities, with other actors, and say in Piacenza, this is a topic really, really important. In particular, I would say city logistics, because here in Piacenza there is a huge center for logistics. A lot of big companies have at their let's say their presence here. So it's a topic really, really relevant for the city. And as you said, we work closely with the city of Piacenza to define those challenges.
That's great to hear, because again, that's also one of the things that makes a great Climathon is if you work closely with the city. So I think just there you're already off to a good start. I just want to remind everyone out there viewing, if you have questions for Giacomo, if you have questions about like what does it require, how does it feel to be organizing your first Climathon, then please put it in the chat. So we can follow up on it here in the studio. Just have a few other questions also about Climathon and you. And the first one is, how did you find Climathon and decide to become a part of it?
Yeah, as I said, we, let's say, as a company, we contributed to the organization of previous edition of Climathon, not here in Piacenza, but in other Italian cities, in Turin and in Courmayeur. So it has been easy to talk with colleagues and find out the opportunity to bring this interesting format also here in Piacenza. Then we also have the chance to talk with some people, some professionals involved in previous edition as mentors here at local level. So we combine the two things. We try to get these people on board, and we then started with the organization.
And what's for you, as you said, you've already been somewhat involved in other Climathons. Mm-hmm. What's the most fun part about being involved in Climathon, and maybe what's the most challenging part?
Mm-hmm. I think that, at least for me, the funniest part has been to create relations at local level, to find out how many people are interested to the topics and to this format and this event itself. Let's say that for me has been the most interesting part. We every day we got calls and messages from people that says, okay, I just found out that you organized this. Can I take part? Can I give my contribution? Can I participate with my team or as a mentor? So that's, for me, the most interesting part. Well, coming to the challenging part, I would say that it's a complex event, because there are both strategical and operational things to do. So it's important to work in a team with the appropriate mix of competencies. It's important to manage the project smoothly. And as I said, for us, it has also been a challenge to postpone it several times, because we, let's say, started to organize it, then stop it, then postpone, then find out, let's say, find and plan a new date, a new schedule. So that has been a little bit challenging too.
I completely hear you. I think a lot of organizers have felt like you. It's been challenging to, not know what's coming up, like what can I look forward to. So again, I really, really appreciate the resiliency and your determination to really organize. So from an organizer's point of view, what does it mean to you to be part of this global movement? So obviously Climathon is happening, I just mentioned, in 195 cities. What does it mean for you and Piacenza to be part of such a global movement?
Yeah, that's also been one of the reasons we decided to take part to this initiative, the possibility to be part of a broad event, broad initiative, with an impact, with let's say a positive impact on our cities, and also the possibility to let's say try to shape this format, try to shape this event with attention to local needs, local actors. We talked before about the challenges we chose. So this double, let's say, this double level, the global one and the local one, I think it's one of the most interesting things about this format. and also one of the reasons we decided to participate in this initiative.
Yeah, and again, I just want to remind everyone out there, if you have a question, then put it in the chat so we can follow up. I think I just have one more question for you, or just a few more, Giacomo. But you mentioned this about being challenged. You didn't know, okay, what's happening next month, sometimes next week, right? In the world that we're living in right now. But how did you manage and plan the Climathon? How did you actually manage to pull it off after having to postpone a few times?
Well, I mean, we were really committed to this project. We, let's say, created already a network of partners. So we, again, involved them through the process. We try to, let's say, keep all the partners, all the stakeholders active through the years, also when we had to postpone it. So we started from the challenges. Then we tried to sit around the table and plan a little bit more strategical and operational part. We tried on the one hand to focus on the targets. We start talking with the local universities. As I said before, we also had an event with high school. We try to involve those associations active in the sectors. So we focused on the target. We try to address the target. Then, in parallel, we of course organized the let's say the back office part. So the involvement of mentors, the involvement of experts, the jury, the prizes. So we continued in parallel as we normally do in other events. We have quite of an experience in organizing also hackathons in relations to other topics. So I think that has been a good way of proceeding. We managed to arrive here somehow smoothly. So I think it's, I mean, it's a good way of proceeding. And if I have to identify one thing which is most important in the organization is the team, for sure. Starting with a good team also means to be able to talk with stakeholders, to identify the right people to connect with, to create an interesting and say mixed agenda. So that's the secret to me. So to start with the most appropriate team for this initiative.
I think that's actually a good message to everyone out there. If you want to organize, and really think about the team that you're bringing together, because like you said, then if you have the right team, then you can definitely do almost anything. So Giacomo, there's no questions in the chat, but is there any way where people watching can follow you and follow Climathon Piacenza, and then if people want to know how to organize a Climathon, then obviously they can reach out to you. But yeah, do you have social media tags?
Yes, of course. As I said, it's a live event in presence, so we don't have a, let's say, streaming component or online component, but we are online with our social media profile, and for sure we will be, let's say, covering the event throughout the week, and in particular during the 2 days of the Ideathon. The name of our profiles is Laboratorio Aperto Piacenza, which is the innovation hub I was mentioning before, where the event will take place, and let's say also the organizer of this event.
All right. Well, you know what? We're also gonna share that, and hopefully also tag you on our Instagram account. So also for people like myself that are not too proficient in Italian can find your tag.
Yeah,
so,
of course. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Giacomo. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for all the insights, and I think it's definitely something to if people watching, go back and re-watch this, because I think there's a lot of really good insights if you want to organize a Climathon. So Giacomo, thank you, and good luck with the Climathon coming up this weekend.
Thank you very much.
So Climathon, as you heard, can be complex. It's a complex. It's more than an event, so it can be complex to organize it, and a lot of organizers are really focused on the challenges and really developing ideas. But we also hear from the organizers that they see people actually gain other key values. They get value out of meeting people there, so creating stronger networks. So they meet people that they will work with in the future. We also see that there is a lot of learnings in the Climathon. So you actually get a lot of learnings about your local city and what are the challenges there and what can you do. And the next person that we've spoken to, this is a pre-recorded video that we have, but it's actually one of the Climathon teams from 2019. They were the winning team in Sudan, in the city of Khartoum. And they developed a really interesting idea around energy. They ended up going through a few iterations, but then unfortunately couldn't keep it going. But what the video also talks about is really some of the other learnings and some of the the fire that it sparked in people being part of Climathon. So right now, Salma, the person that we're gonna hear in just a few seconds, she's actually she's taking a master's degree in the US, but she's also really focusing on potentially setting up a renewable innovation center in Sudan to also empower women. So this is also just another side of what you can gain from being part of Climathon as a participant. So we'll just share that video with you now.
Hi everyone, my name is Selma. I'm from Sudan. I'm a current Fulbright at Southern New Hampshire University in Manchester, United States. In 2018, I took the challenge of to mitigate extreme weather event at Khartoum City. So I participated in Climathon over there. 2 years later, we were nominated for the most transformative idea since 2015. My experience being participating in Climathon was very interesting. It was a 24-hour event. We brainstormed ideas and we decided to go for innovation in renewable energy. After Climathon, we had an opportunity to join an incubation program, and after that we decided to turn our idea to a startup. In the future, I'm hoping to start an innovation center for renewable energy, especially toward empowering women in the sector and to start their businesses with small innovative idea in renewable energy. So I think one of the most interesting things that I saw coming out from Climathon, the people that I participate in, even they didn't take their idea and change it to a business, but eventually they end up working in climate change mitigation or starting a new business in that sector with totally different team, with totally different idea, but eventually they did take the action. So if you participate in Climathon and you didn't continue with your idea, at least you will learn what you can do to help solving the climate change problem. And thank you.
Welcome back. You are watching the Week of Action on the Climathon YouTube page and the Climathon Facebook page. We're so happy that you're joining us. So as you just saw, there are actually other outcomes of the Climathon than just ideas. But now we are going to hear about one of the winning ideas from one of the teams of Climathons this year. And we have 195 Climathons, which means that they take place throughout the year. So we did have some Climathons taking place early this year, and one of them was in Silver City in New Mexico, United States. So right now, as you can see, just by the people that you've met, and now Caroline from New Mexico that you're going to meet, we are actually all around the world. So we are a global program, and that also means that if you're sitting out there and you're thinking, hey, I'm in South America, I'm only listening to someone in Europe or in Africa, you can still be part of this. And you can, if there's no Climathon, then you can bring a Climathon to your city. With that said, I want to welcome Caroline. Caroline, welcome. How are you feeling?
I'm excited. Very happy to be here, even though it's the middle of the night.
That's right. I know you're calling in. It's very, very late or early, depending on how you're looking at it. So thank you so much for being with us. We really, really appreciate it. And again, I think that also just speaks to the passion of the people of Climathon, that you're getting up in the middle of the night to talk with us. So we really appreciate it. My first question is, could you introduce yourself? Why are you getting involved in climate action?
Well, I'm 70 years old, and when I was in my early 20s, I read Rachel Carson's book, The Silent Spring, and it really brought an awareness for me of the fact that our planet has been in jeopardy since a long time now. So I became an environmentalist early on, and I've had organic gardens off and on all my life. And in my early 60s, I started traveling the world for 5 years with a backpack. And every single place that I went, I heard about the climate and how, well, we used to be able to predict the weather and know how much rain we were going to have for our crops and so forth. And now we don't know. Nothing's predictable. And that was it was a sad thing for me to hear how widespread the phenomenon is. I should say that about 12 years ago, I started studying permaculture and have been interested in that for these years, but I didn't have a place of my own to practice it. And then about 4 years ago, I bought land here outside of Silver City and started my permaculture project. And I really got interested in the principles of regenerative agriculture. And I've been building soil. I think I've built about 8 inches of soil now here on my place. And I think it's really critical because there's a lot of desert here. And yet I understand that if we change the soil dynamics and the plants, that we can actually change climate locally as well as globally. So it's been a pretty big passion for me most of my life.
That's really amazing to hear, and it really shines through when you're talking as well. I'm just really inspired now also by what you said and all the knowledge that you have. I just want to tell the viewers, if you have any questions from Caroline, then please put it in our chat so I can follow up on it here in the studio. Caroline, as you said, you've really been involved in a lot of things. Why did you decide to get involved in the Climathon happening in Silver City earlier this year?
Well, I saw the poster around town and it was about compost, and I was like, I already do compost. I already know how to do compost, and I wasn't gonna go. And then I'm not quite sure what happened. I think I started thinking about how isolated I had been during the pandemic, and I thought, well, it might be good to check it out and share ideas and meet some more people who have a common interest in the environment. So I just sort of decided on the spur of the moment to attend.
And that's amazing. You know, we're so glad that you actually participated in the Climathon, and it's that you ended up winning together with team. Can you talk about like how did your team meet during the Climathon? How did you figure out that you were a good match and that you wanted to work together?
Well, I knew two of the people prior to from our team prior to the Climathon, and so I graduated to their table at lunchtime, and we just socialized during lunch, and then it came time to choose the teams, and so it was kind of natural for the three of us to just stay there and work together. I had known Gordon through I belonged to a permaculture group, and we had toured his biochar operation. And he's just a visionary and an activist in that area. So it was a natural thing to gravitate toward him. And then another member of our team, Mike Fugali, is a local biologist, and he's doing a lot of work with young people in one of our high schools in particular, and really supporting the young people in looking at this challenge. And so I have a lot of admiration for them. And then we picked up a couple of other members who, just kind of wandered over to our table.
Amazing. And how do you feel about that that the Climathon was that a platform or space for you guys to meet and then come together, and then out of that came a really great idea?
Well, it was a very interesting process. We watched a movie, and I'm not recalling the name of the movie right now, about the climate crisis. And, that really focused us in on the problem. And we heard a couple of talks. So there were 42 people at the Climathon, and it was really, you could tell, it was a very dynamic group of people. It was a lot of people in the community who have a real passion and desire to contribute to solving this issue. So it was pretty exciting and a very interesting process through the whole thing. I'm not actually sure if I answered your question, so you can reiterate it if you want.
That was perfectly fine. And you mentioned already a few times that you were working on a composting challenge in Silver City. So can you describe maybe a little bit about, like, okay, what was the challenge, and maybe also why is this so relevant in Silver City?
Well, it was something that I wasn't really, it wasn't really on my radar, because I live out here in the country and I'm growing food and building soil. But I learned through the Climathon that our landfill is getting overwhelmed with food waste. And also our recycling program it was off. We stopped having a recycling program in Silver City, about a year and a half ago, I think. And now that's restarted again, thanks to a local initiative. But the challenge for our Climathon was how to divert food waste from the landfill, which is filling up too quickly, and we're going to have to invest a whole lot of money to create a new one. So by diverting the food waste, we could create compost for richer soils and sequester carbon or keep from emitting carbon from the food waste in the landfill. So that was an awareness that was brought to me just in that, in the event.
Yeah. And do you see this as something, that's very much needed in Silver City?
I do. And I think the other thing is that the goal of the Climathon was to create a community composting system. And I think that's a huge addition to our community because it's easy for communities to be kind of fractured or lack cohesion. And I think a project like this can really contribute to that. And I have all kinds of visions as to how that can, play out relative to uses of compost. And there were a lot of good ideas that came forth in terms of how the compost would get gathered. And it was really interesting to see how that sparked community as well.
And can you describe to us, so like I mentioned before, you were the winning team of this Climathon. Can you describe to us the idea that you and your team came up with?
Yeah, this was an idea that Gordon West, the biochar person, brought to the team, and it was much, much larger than any vision that I had relative to the challenge, because what he presented to us and what we wrestled over in the team working was this much larger vision of creating a civilian climate corps pilot project. And as you may know, or people may not know, that President Biden has proposed as part of our Build Back Better program, which I hope passes, he's proposed a civilian climate corps. But as we discussed in our teamwork, there hasn't been much of a solid framework for that climate corps put forth. And because of Gordon's work with biochar and using that to co-generate heat at an industrial level, all of a sudden this idea of gathering people's food waste and turning it into compost, it turned into this much bigger vision of bringing people to Silver City, housing them here, training them in all kinds of environmental mitigation, doing forest forest clearing of trash wood or dead wood, turning that into biochar, co-generating the heat, using the biochar in a fungal-rich compost method, which is a method that I use and Gordon's been experimenting with for several years. It's called the Johnson-Su compost method, and it was pioneered by a professor here in New Mexico and his wife. And it's a no-turn cold compost that it works for a year, and that allows a large diversity of microbes and especially fungi in the compost, and that's it's a really powerful form of compost. So working with that and creating a whole center of education for people to come and apply this and learn about ways to mitigate the climate. And yeah, it's going to involve large portions of our community.
That sounds amazing. It sounds like hopefully President Biden is also watching, or we can send this to him. We can at least try. But it seems like you're already doing you're taking the first step here. You're actually doing something rather than just talking about it, and that's also very much the spirit of Climathon. We got a question from the chat for you. So someone out there who might be interested in doing their own composting, they're asking you, what's the first step you would advise to someone who's looking to set up their own community composting?
Ooh, community composting. Well, I think that getting many entities involved and finding a place where you can actually concentrate the food waste and have a place where you can work on it. Because, for example, with this composting method, because you don't have to turn it, it's pretty simple. You need to keep it moist, but I'd say, yeah, finding other people who are interested is key, and also finding a location where you can concentrate that kind of material.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a really good point. Finding someone so you're not doing it all alone, but you can actually get more, and then you can also get more people helping out. There is another question also from the chat, and it's you mentioned that you traveled the world. So there's one of the viewers asking, okay, where do you see that there is the most attention or public attention to climate change, and where do you see the biggest improvements are needed or are made?
I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on that, but what impressed me actually was that there are people everywhere in every country who are focused on this. Places that impressed me a great deal were Colombia, and I saw a lot going on in India also. And as far as where we need the most mitigation, that's a hard one to answer. There are unique problems in each country.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, being from the United States, we have quite a bit of environmental legislation, but we also have very large corporate entities who are constantly pushing the boundaries. And that's different from maybe problems in, for example, India, where there's more to do with poverty and lack of resource at a basic level. So yeah, it's very specific, I think.
Yeah. I really like your examples. Again, it also shows that, and what you mentioned about that there are actually people in every country doing something. So I think we often get too focused on just one country as, okay, this is the country that we should look for, and then we forget that there's actually people in our own country doing something about it. So I really like that example, and also that you said that there are unique challenges to each place in the world. I have one final question. It's about the team and you, and kind of what's next for you. What's the next step? What are you going to do now to make the idea a reality that you came up with during Climathon?
Well, that's very exciting, actually. We met with a group of other sort of heads of nonprofit organizations who are also doing environmental work. We met quite quickly. We created a coalition. of people who are already doing work in the environmental field in our area. And that was really smart. It wasn't my idea, but it was a really good thing to do, was to just bring pre-existing entities on board and create a coalition really of people and organizations to come together to support this work. And we have people from a local high school. We have and the watershed people working with us. We have Environmental Defense Fund, and we have a person from one of the local tribal organizations, all who are very keen about working on this together. And Gordon, our biochar person, he and another organization are already in talks with the Forest Service around funding and a project to get that biomass. We have other people who have approached government officials about funding, because there are programs for environmental restoration. And then there's the ongoing work with the high school community. So we're meeting again in just a few days to sort of regroup and update everyone and figure out what our next steps are. But I'm very optimistic because, as you said, this group they're taking action. I was afraid at the end of the Climathon that this would all sort of peter out, because that so often happens with these efforts. But we've got a really dynamic group, really dedicated people, and I see it actually moving forward quite effectively. It's very exciting.
Great to hear. I really and very exciting also to hear how you can ride that momentum from the Climathon and keep it going also so many months after you participated in the Climathon. So Caroline, before I leave you, I just want to hear, do you have any message to our viewers out there? As we mentioned before, you definitely have a lot of knowledge. You've seen a lot, also traveled the world. So do you have any message in terms of climate action?
Yes, I think that the message is that if we continue taking action, we can make a difference. We can turn this around. I've spent a lot of my life feeling discouraged and scared about this. And the more I learn about regenerative agriculture and both technical and biological initiatives and mitigation and the inventiveness of people all over the world, I have more hope. And I don't think we're dependent on governments. I see that people are willing and ready and passionate about taking action. And when we're involved in the positive action, it's so much easier to stay optimistic and positive. And then the other thing is to stay united, stay in communication with others who are doing this work, because that will keep us both focused and hopeful.
I think that's a great message to send. So Caroline, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for getting up in the middle of the night. We really, really appreciate it. And good luck to you and your team with the future and the development of your idea.
Thank you very much, Bjarke. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. So there you have it. I think that's a really good message to send, that if we keep taking action, then we can actually really do something about this. let's not wait for people to sit around and discuss. I think discussion is over. So really, that's also what the Climathon is about. It's really getting people together so we can take action locally, because that's where it matters. This concludes the Climathon session for today. We hope you'll be back tomorrow with us at 10 Central European Standard Time, where again we're going to speak to actually 2 local organizers this time. One of them are kicking off their Climathon tomorrow, so we'll also get a few insights on how it's going and what the atmosphere is, how the energy is. And then we'll speak to another winning team from this year. But if you can't get enough of climate action content, then we have another session starting at 12 Central European Time, which is on the Climate Accelerator and Climate Innovators YouTube channel. So I'll just repeat it. It's on the Climate Accelerator and Climate Innovators YouTube channel. It's at 12 Central European Time, where my good colleague Christian Daube, if you've watched a few of the live streamings from the past days, you've met him here at the Climathon in the start, but he is interviewing some like really interesting entrepreneurs about how it is to become an entrepreneur, and later he will have a panel with entrepreneurs from Europe discussing kind of how is the ecosystem in Europe and what can we do to work better together. So please tune in for that, and please tune in tomorrow, and do not forget to use the hashtag destination 1.5, where point is spelled out, to share with us any great projects you have or know of that are tackling energy shortage, and also please do call out your city or region through the hashtag if you want them to do more about the energy transition, where this is what Climathon is about, really doing something in your city and changing it for the better. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow on this channel.